Present.
Present.
Here.
I'm present.
If there are no additions. Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Jerry, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
Abstain,
Abstain, because you weren't here for a while.
correct.
Okay, that's all right, you still can vote, you know, we talked about that before.
Yeah, we did, but I'll abstain.
I told you what was going on. You didn't pay attention.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know why you sit there.
No, that's, you can do it by Robert's rules, you certainly could abstain if you want to, so. No problem. Okay, new business tonight, we've got, Jerry Klein, 1021 West Main Street. And, Jerry, if you could come up to the podium there. And if you'll raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Oh, sorry.
Gee, thanks.
Now we're gonna let her get back to her seat now, too. You know, we've got all kinds of accommodations made for the folks, so we've got accurate minutes, so.
Right, I'm
Okay,
ready.
if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, with your proposal on things, if you will.
Pretty much plain and simple, I'm proposing to tear down my old garage and pretty much build a replacement right on its site. Have a little bit bigger, but going into my side of the yard, more than, that way I don't disturb any of the neighbors or anything like that. Currently, the garage is 20 by 20. I'm proposing for a 24 by 30 garage.
Okay, so what you're looking for is a side yard variance for the driveway?
Yes, for my one neighbor's side, yes. Because it is within, it's not up to code, which you guys want right now. But I'd like to keep it on the same site.
Driveway's gonna be west of your house, right? Is that the right way?
Yes, yes. Yeah, because it does go between the two houses. The garage does sit back approximately 50 feet, 50, 60 feet from the house, from the back of the house.
So you need a two-foot variance.
2 foot
Supposed to be
there.
a 5-foot setback, so you're gonna come in 2 foot, that keeps 3 foot off the property line.
Correct.
That asphalt drive you got now, I haven't seen that kind of drive in a long time, I kinda used to like it. Are you gonna put it in the same location? The concrete
Yeah, I
drive?
don't plan on moving the driveway whatsoever.
And that property line goes straight back, so it'd be straight back where your garage is falling apart.
Correct, correct.
I saw that. Okay. That's it. So you need a variance for all the way back. You didn't ask for that.
Right, but yeah, I think that that's what's appropriate at this point. Bob, anything you want to say on?
Yeah, we didn't discuss your garage, but it looks like your garage is going to need the setback, the same setback as the driveway, your proposed garage.
Yes,
Okay.
It's in line with the property. I walked back there.
okay.
And that's, I think it's on the same line. Bob would know for sure.
So
'cause
this
he went out
is,
and measured.
this is a meeting, you should ask for that, so you don't have to come back next month or whenever you want to build your garage.
Okay,
You could do both variances at the same time.
okay. So I need one for the garage and one for the driveway,
Yes,
even though I'm not touching the driveway?
correct, because you're going to pour concrete, a hard surface structure. You're going
Just
to
for the
remove,
driveway, just for the garage, sorry.
your original request was for the driveway, because you're making a change, you're going to remove the whole driveway and put in concrete.
Not right now, no. I was just for the garage.
Okay, I understood that you were asking for variance for the driveway and you were going to build the garage later.
Oh, no, it's actually the other way around. I'm building
Okay.
the garage now and doing the driveway
Okay.
later.
Okay, When
Your
you,
application is a little bit different, that's why we have some confusion.
Okay.
And that's why we're here to clear that confusion up.
sure. So when you remove a structure, now you have to meet the new code. So you're going to remove your driveway, you remove your asphalt. The intent of the code is now you have to come into compliance with the code. So you're going to remove your complete driveway, so your variance would be granted for the new concrete driveway also.
So he could
But
ask,
I'm not gonna touch the driveway whatsoever. If the driveway is gonna stay where
Oh,
it is.
All right, okay, so
It's
you're not.
just the
all right,
garage
Okay.
right now that I'm disturbing.
Okay. All right,
Uh,
I understand now.
Okay.
All right, that,
got it.
okay, good enough.
Sorry for any confusion on that part.
No, that's not a problem.
Okay,
That's why we have these meetings.
This drawing appears to say 3 feet from the edge of the garage to the property line.
correct.
It's 2 foot on the, but he wants a variance.
So does he want a 2-foot variance and have a 3-foot setback?
Correct.
Yeah, it's 5 foot, so that'd be a 2 foot on the west side.
So we're only dealing with the one variance.
Correct, one variance.
But it'll be the same application.
Correct.
Right.
So when I do the driveway later, I'll have to come back and literally redo the whole thing, correct?
When were you gonna do the driveway? Because we could give you a variance for both now, that you wouldn't have to come back.
The honest answer to that one is depends on how much money I have left over after the garage. So I really don't, I can't answer that. I want to do the garage, or the driveway. It's just a question of, will I have enough money afterwards to do that?
I'm not sure how long that is. If
12
we give
months.
1 year, and
1 year, I thought. Would you do
be
it
1
within
year.
1 year?
I'm hoping, but I can't guarantee that I will.
Well, why don't you roll the dice and do them both at this time?
Okay,
That'd be the easiest thing for you, and then if you can get it started within a year, Bob will come out and work with him.
okay.
Yeah, and if that year lapses, then you still can come back to what you need at that point. So my suggestion would be that you ask for that now.
Okay. But instead of a concrete drive, I would still like to have it as a asphalt drive.
Doesn't matter, still.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
well, just to clarify, the application says 2-foot setback. Are we going to grant a 2-foot setback or a 3-foot setback?
It should state 2-foot variance.
It says 2-foot setback.
I know, but if you take a look at the chart above there, Larry, 3 is proposed and 2 is the variance. Okay.
Yeah, it should say variance, you're right.
So it's a 2-foot variance.
Yes, let's cross out setback and put variance. And then also cross out concrete, put asphalt.
I don't even know if we're gonna say, hard surface. I give him a hard surface. I thought the concrete was in the neighbors, looked pretty good.
Okay.
So the proposal, when you're ready.
Yeah. If there's no other questions, Clark?
So when neighbors were notified, they were notified for the driveway. So are we going to run into any problems granting this for the garage as well as the driveway?
It's on the same property line. I walked back there.
Mm-hmm.
That property line is straight back. And they have a concrete drive.
The one,
Well, the neighbor seems to be the most impacted, sent a letter in saying that they don't have a problem with it.
Correct. And when I talked to him over the phone, he said he wouldn't have a problem.
yeah, we have one that came in from a neighbor today. And I don't know,
Is that on the west side, that neighbor?
1018 West Spruce.
the one today is 1018 Spruce, but the one to the west
That's right
is the one that's gonna be the closest impact, and he said, the thrust of his.
Yeah, I missed that he's good with the garage as well as the driveway, so.
Yeah.
That was,
Oh, is it? I didn't see that.
that was my largest concern, so,
That's
yeah,
a-
so, okay.
Yeah, and it seemed to me like the 1025 neighbor, as long as there was an improvement going on, he was all for it. Didn't matter what kind of improvement, really. He didn't have to get specific on it. He was trying to see people put money back into their property. Good question. Okay. Other questions? Any clarification?
So we're gonna grant him 2 variances together, is that correct? Or should we make
Yes.
them separate? You want them separate?
She wants them separate.
Who does, Tiffany?
Tiffany.
Okay, the first one is we want to give them a 2-foot variance, which allows a 3-foot setback, which is what we were talking about.
Yes.
For the hard surface driveway, which could be blacktop, concrete, whatever, not gravel.
Right, correct.
Okay, so that's what I propose.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Okay, Ken, thank you. Further discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, Tiffany?
Jerry Keizer,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Clark Magich,
Yes?
Larry Salinas,
Yes,
Vince Barnes,
Yes.
Tim Thomas,
Yes.
Ken Forkes.
Yes.
Okay. And then on the second variance?
The second variance is to give him the same thing as far as setback and variance, 2-foot variance on the garage setback from the property line to your west.
Okay.
And that's 1 year, that is 1 year limit.
Okay.
Also,
The size is okay, as far as like everything?
yeah,
Size of the garage is
So
fine.
the only thing he needs is just the
he needs it on the west
setback
side.
for the one side, okay.
Correct.
The other side, I think, is 5 in the back.
So we're gonna do 2 foot also?
Yes.
Same thing, so the property line goes
2-foot
straight back.
variance.
Okay.
So it's a 3-foot setback.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Clark, thank you. Further discussion on the motion? Roll call again, Tiffany?
So Dr. Miller was at first, right? Okay. Jerry Keizer,
Yes.
Ken Forkes,
Yes.
Tim Thomas,
Yes.
Clark Magich,
Yes.
Larry Salinas,
yes,
Vince Barnes,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
All right, your request is granted. Good luck on things. I hope there's money left over.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
If you find any, I need some too.
I can see where they're leaving the variance, setback smaller.
Right, right.
Okay, we have no other new business. We have old business. And I see that we have Tyler Ralston here. As far as Mr. and Mrs. Klein, if you want to leave, you don't have to stay. You don't have to stay. and get
Unless you want to see some more fun, hey.
Didn't want to be rude, so.
Wasn't sure how all that works. If you're in need of going to sleep early, you know, you could start here. Unless we're meeting. Thanks for coming. Okay, I see we have Tom Ralston here. Tom Ralston? And I don't know the. Okay. I'm gonna give a background on, why we're dealing with things tonight. And there's not gonna be any, I don't think we need to have any sworn testimony of any kind. If somebody, disagrees with that, please let the chair know, and the chair can tell you you're wrong. No, I'm sorry. We'll do whatever you want to have. The reason that, this is on the agenda, this is, actually at my request. I think I indicated in our November meeting that there had been a certified letter sent to Mr. Ralston. As you may recall, Mr. Ralston has the property at 252 West Highland. Clark, I think in particular, for that helps people remember, you were interested in maybe the historic registry on the property on things, so you gave some information on that. But that's the property. It's on the corner of West Highland and
day,
Day Street. There was, and Mr. Ralston, you can speak to this, or Bob, you can speak to this, but the variance was granted, and if you take a look at the minutes of the May 30th meeting, I think it is, and the proposal that Mr. Ralston gave, and the drawings on the application as part of the packet that Tiffany sent. It's this packet, And then there are pictures of the fence that you should have as part of your packet also. And what happened, as I recall it, is the following. And Mr. Ralston, maybe come on up to the, you don't have to stand at the podium, but if you want to take a seat where you're close so we can pick up your voice on things. And Rob, feel free to jump in at any point too. My purpose for putting this back on the agenda is this isn't an appeal. It isn't a new variance request. It is simply to clear the air on some things that I don't think anybody was muddled at first, but it got muddled down the road on things. And I had mentioned in the November 28th meeting minutes that I had received a copy of a letter that was sent to Mr. Ralston indicating that what was constructed at his property was not in conformity with the application that he made to the board and which the board granted the variance on. There was a rather, I don't know if there was more than one exchange, but there was at least one exchange that was fairly heated between Mr. Ralston and Mr. Finney, and some language used by Mr. Ralston that was not appropriate. That kind of dug everybody's heels into the sand, rightly or wrongly. And so when I got the call from Mr. Ralston to meet with me, I did for him what I would do for any other citizen who has a question relative to the workings of this board. I met with him, his father accompanied him, and we met at my office. I didn't give any advisory opinions, I didn't give any recommendations, I didn't give any legal advice as to what to do with the matter. But I wanted to clear the air. I think the worst thing that can happen in community relations is for people to have preconceived or after-conceived notions of what went on and why it went on, and then you get rumors and innuendos, and you get opinions that are not substantiated by actual events. And I, for one, despise that, and that's the reason that I met with Mr. Ralston. And I would do that for any other resident of this community as it related to matters before this board. So if I can recite the history on this, there was an application made for our May 30 meeting last year. At that time, the application showed that a fence there was a request for a 6-foot variance, 6-foot fence, so it wasn't a 3-foot fence, and there was going to be an oblique turn at, whatever the name of that alley is.
Springfield?
Which is really a road, but it's a road nevertheless, and hasn't been vacated by the city. So there was supposed to be an oblique erection of that fence. When the fence was put up, it did not conform to the variance granted. It was squared off, and that creates a couple of problems relative to traffic control and vision, of which there is strict liability for the city as it relates to vision. If there's an accident at that corner, then the city could potentially be dragged into a lawsuit that the fence was granted or the fence was erected without proper authorization, and the city and the property owner could be involved in a lawsuit where there's injury or death. At that point, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, you went down, saw that the fence was not being erected in conformity with the variance. You informed Mr. Ralston of that. I don't know when there was an exchange of words, but it was not, the conversation was not such as to lead to an understanding as to responsibilities and reasons on things. And Mr. Ralston did not do anything to correct the situation communication by Mr. Finney to him was that the fence had to come down. And then time passed, and it was referred to the law director for action. The law director hasn't done anything to date on that, but probably should have. So, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, there are two issues that as chair, I would like to see cleared up, for both the protection of the city and also for the protection of the homeowner. And that is, I don't recall in any of our discussions, there are two issues. One is that the fence is within 1 foot of the sidewalk. I don't remember, maybe the board or looking through the minutes, I didn't see it either in review for this meeting, but I didn't see anything about the fence having to be 2 feet off of the sidewalk. Larry?
Page 6 of the minutes. Mr. Finney told him twice. The second paragraph says 2 feet from the sidewalk.
Okay. Well, then, my mistake, I didn't see that.
And if you go down just below the middle of the page, he reminds him again, 2 feet from the right-of-way. And if you go back up to the first statement, he defines the right-of-way as being the sidewalk in our, I think, our new fence code.
Okay.
So
that
that's
was-
only 1 foot off. Or maybe 14 inches. I didn't measure it, but I was down there twice.
Right. Okay, so I stand corrected, maybe we only have one issue here then. And that is, does the 6-foot variance for the fence still stand? And is Mr. Ralston, should he so choose, and conform to the variance, does that variance still stand? So that's what I want to have discussed.
Because I was down there twice, and I was down there maybe 15, 20 minutes with 2 different people, while I'm on this board. And I didn't see any vehicles come down Springfield, except one police car. And I moved over and he went by. Rather than tearing the whole fence down, could he put like a diagonal? And I think when you said that curve thing, I thought it was a diagonal.
Yeah, I thought the sketch, and again, obviously my memory has.
No, well, we all think of it different,
But I thought it was oblique to the
like a
corner,
rounded.
but it's certainly a diagonal.
That way we wouldn't have to take the whole fence down.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that, I think for purposes of the property owner,
I like the house. I mean, it's like my office building. It's all restored, looks beautiful. Good job. But rather than, you kind of got to compromise on some of this stuff. And I think a diagonal might serve the purpose. It didn't look to me like it'd be that big a deal to do that. That looked like it was feasible. And I don't think your fence was 6 foot, is it? Is it only 5? We gave you a variance, so you could go to 6, but it was like 5.
I just took one measurement and set a straight line, so it could be higher or lower.
You're allowed to go to 6, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's over 6 foot.
It's not. I measured it. I took a couple of these guys down there.
Jerry, you have a question?
First off, I'll identify that Tom Ralston, his dad, is a close friend of mine. That having been said, growing up here in Ravenna, just about everybody's a close friend, so, we make those decisions all the time. I understand what's said in the past. I also understand that when people come into this hearing, they're not coming here because they comply with our codes. They're asking us for their help. And I see both sides of the coin. I don't want to, Bob's doing a great job, so I don't want to discourage him. But I think maybe we can find room to find common ground. And to Rich's point, putting the angle in, I think gives a better view going up this way than having to come up here to look out, even coming back from Exodus as we're talking about, having the angle there. As far as traffic on that street, nobody's going fast streets, as narrow as it is. And I think, you know, what do we do here? We're finding ways to help people that's improving their properties, make them better, it's better for everybody. Now, if you look at the house, you can't deny that the Ralstons have really improved that house. And the fence, yeah, technically, it's not where we want it to be, but it's there. And to kind of ask somebody to tear that whole thing down is not a way we can find a way to make it good for both sides. It's a win-win situation. It's what
And the other thing is, do you remember, Kenny might remember, when we were kids, wasn't there an iron fence there?
There's always been a fence.
Because I did
That-
Roy Evans'
I've
house,
been a
that brick
kid,
house
we used to
kind of
all
campus.
ride bicycles down that street.
And I think when we were kids, or younger, it seems to me there was an iron.
There was.
fence there.
Yeah, you could impale yourself on it if you wanted to.
Right, do you remember
Football
that?
And he
field,
should
like,
have.
Because I thought, man, I'd love to get that fence, because I was over at Roy Evans' house. That's that brick house that's
If you look at
related to
this-
you.
If you look at the post here and one to the post there, that will give you a better sight than having to come all the way up.
So they probably had a fence there to begin with for like 100 years.
A lot quicker than you would the other way. I just think it's a little give on his part as
What-
far as property being used, a little give on our part as far as.
What was presented to Board of Zoning Appeals was exactly that. We didn't discuss it because it met the code, the 25 feet at 45-degree angles.
So that would be.
The
diagonal
variance
we're
was,
talking
yes, the
about.
variance was specific to the height.
Right.
So I'm not asking him, I'm asking him to come into compliance with the code, not asking him to tear it down. I'm asking him to come into compliance,
Okay, so what is coming into compliance?
build the fence with the 25-foot from the edge of the pavement, each direction, like his original application was. And then obviously the 2 feet. The 2 feet, the reason I wrote that specifically, away from the sidewalk. I could have put from the property line, which then it might have actually been farther. Our sidewalks are anywhere from on the property line, the back of the walk is anywhere from on the property line to 12 inches away, could be 18 inches away, could be 6 inches away, I don't know. But to ask a resident, generally a resident, you need to hire a surveyor to find your pins. It was easier to just say 2 feet away from the sidewalk. It's a 4-foot sidewalk, 2 grown adults walk down a sidewalk. 4 foot is very difficult. You know, I'm almost 22 inches wide and you're 28 inches wide, or whatever. Right, so, you know what I mean? And so you would be up against that fence if it was right up against it. So that's when I wrote the new fence ordinance. I wanted to see a buffer. The fence that was there was about 4 foot tall, and it had open slats. Sight distance was not an issue with that fence that wrapped around the property. Now you put a 6-foot-high board on board, you cannot see, if you're on Springfield, somebody on that sidewalk, especially if they're a younger person on a bicycle that isn't thinking, got headphones zipping down the sidewalk. And that would put every single one of us in this room at jeopardy from a legal standpoint.
And I want to correct what I said, it's not like there was a diagonal in the original.
That's what I
drawing.
remember doing, because we had it at an angle. That's what that is.
This is a safety issue, like Bob said, not just with traffic, but with people, including children on the sidewalk. And I would like to call your attention to page 2 of the minutes, the very top, where he promised to put that diagonal in the first place.
I understand that. That's history.
So I'm against any additional variances. I think he should move the fence back to 2 feet and put the diagonal on the corner.
I'll come back to the position that putting the angle in there gives the sight, improves the sight, that makes it a safe enough issue with the traffic that's coming down that street. Even the foot traffic that we're talking about is not a great amount of foot traffic. There's been that fence and that, in one form or another on that location. I grew up in this town, I had friends that lived in 2-3 houses of that, and they used to come up and down that street and never had the first problem.
Well, I know there was an iron fence there, because I remember seeing it when we were kids. So we would remember that, because we're the right age to remember that.
I have a question. When did they vacate Springfield Street?
When did they?
I
Yes.
think it is vacated.
We haven't vacated
Oh, I
it.
thought you said it was
It's still a
vacated.
bona fide street.
Okay,
But it's not heavily traveled. When
right,
was
I
there-
know that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the one cop car.
Yeah, there's 4 houses back there.
Well, how, could we get a compromise, like Jerry said, since he did such a great job on restoring the house? I like the house. I think he did a great job, wonderful job.
It's awesome.
So, and we know those houses because you remember when we were young.
I
Well,
watched you do that, all them years working on our, you know.
I didn't do all the work.
Well, I'm sure, but it's still, whatever happened,
But
happened.
all those
It's good.
houses on that section on Highland Street, pretty cool.
Tyler, let me ask you a question. I was under the impression you thought the whole fence had to come down. Was that your impression or no?
Well, no, I knew he was asking me to bring it in 2 feet from the sidewalk.
Okay.
You know, I just put it where the fence was when I started. And regardless of the minutes, those were in May, and I didn't put the fence up till September. I didn't have a copy of those when I put that out. I certainly meant no disrespect to anybody on the board when I put this fence up. And as I recall, I spoke with somebody on here, and they asked me why I had that 45 in there, and I explained why. Because, I was trying to avoid having to come to a meeting to begin with. And it obviously did not work out that way. And that conversation is just not in there. And, they said, we don't see why you would need to do that. We looked at the property, and, so I said, great, if I don't have to do that, that'd be awesome. I'd be able to use my property to its full.
Would you be willing to do that diagonal on the corner where it's at a right angle? On the corner of Springfield, right there where that sharp angle.
I would be willing, but I would prefer to just keep
compromise.
it as it is.
No, we can't do that.
Okay. Well, then yes, if we can't do that, then yes, I'd be willing to put the diagonal.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So it's, I understand that, it's the little smiley face that says stuff happens. I understand, that's what's happened here. I mean, it's, what are you gonna do? I mean, we need to come up with a compromise that is a good one for both sides.
That'd be a compromise.
So, yeah, that was a variance that was granted, and I just wanted to make sure that that stayed in place. Clark?
yeah, so in the spirit of compromise, would it be amenable if we could grant a variance? He's come closer to the sidewalk than we'd like to see, but so he doesn't have to tear the whole fence down. We grant him that variance to however close he is to the sidewalk currently, and then with the stipulation that he does commit to that diagonal so that we at least can alleviate the issue to a degree of giving visibility at that intersection.
You're gonna stain the fence, right? You're not leaving those.
Yes, sir, I was just waiting to see the outcome of this. I need to cut the tops off, but,
Yeah, it's top post. But you could move it pretty easily. I went and looked at it. You could do that.
I can put that diagonal in would be much less easier.
Okay, perfect.
The whole 2 feet.
I don't wanna, I mean, I don't want to discourage our city workers from doing their job. I also don't want to discourage someone from trying to improve the property. I'm trying to find a way to work.
Bob, do you want to speak to the 1 foot, 2 foot?
Oh, I already did. I rest my case, Your Honor. Oh, no, I did speak. That's why I wrote it as 2 feet in the front yard.
Yeah.
This lot is unusual. He has 3 front yards. I have different perspective on fences. Tall fences make good neighbors. I don't disagree with that, but you guys granted him the 6-foot variance, so there's nothing for me to say. There was a 4-foot with opening, which is what the fence code that I wrote stated, 2 feet. Front yards are 4 foot high as long as they have a 2-inch by 2-inch opening, be it chain link or wrought iron, that sort of thing. This is privacy, this is a little different. So, if you guys compromise, you compromise. I've said my piece. I
We need to have that on the record.
I vehemently oppose allowing him to keep his fence on a 90-degree angle at that intersection. As a city engineer, I vehemently oppose that. That's why we didn't discuss it from the beginning, because he was in compliance with what he submitted.
I think we're all in agreement.
So do I need a new variance
Right.
then?
A variance for what?
He's gotta do the diagonal.
No, but that's granted already. So
Well,
the,
then all he's gotta do is do it, otherwise.
Well, so this is where Tyler and I got into a little bit of a disagreement. He asked, what are you gonna do about it if I don't? I said, then we're gonna go to court. Mr. Smino will step in. So as Mr. Smino and I discussed this, the next step for someone who doesn't agree with BZA's decision, thank you, is across. But we didn't disagree with him. He was given his, so he has no reason to even go across the street to appeal your decision because you didn't have to decide, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, we granted what he asked for.
Correct. We granted what he asked for. So it's really not Board of Zoning Appeals' decision unless, I guess you could grant him that variance based on whatever it is, 1458, or not 1458, whatever it is in the fence code, 1436.
Could you give-
143605, visibility at intersections. But I would be very cautious to do that. From,
Gary must certain length of time to complete that as per,
absolutely.
you know, I don't know what's reasonable,
Absolutely.
6 months.
I don't know what's reasonable.
He's got to stain it anyway.
If he puts the diagonal in, which I think is one thing we're talking about, that leaves 36 feet of the fence that's too close to the sidewalk. So how much work is it to pull those posts out and move that fence for 36 feet?
There's approximately 10 posts, they're all at 36 inches into the ground, so it would be very laborious and expensive for me to do that.
Are they in concrete or just in the ground?
They're in concrete, sir.
I let him do the diagonal and that's it. That's the best compromise. Everybody wins that way.
Well, and just to clarify your position, Bob, it sounds like to me like where I think we're all very concerned is just the diagonal being there to allow for the visibility. Being close to the sidewalk, it's a concern. People may bump into it, but it sounds like that's the lesser of these two issues we're discussing.
I actually think
Correct.
what I saw, if you angle it, you have a better view than if you had it the 2 feet that you're talking about.
Mm.
So 2 feet, you gotta come up and look this way. The diagonal, you come back here, it opens all the way up here. You can see all the way.
And even better if you have both.
Yeah, no question. But we don't have that option.
So the question
Yes,
I
we do.
have as the enforcer, the plan reviewer, the next person that comes in and does the same thing, said, you know what? Yeah, I got a permit to do 2 feet. I don't want to do 2 feet. I don't want to do 2 feet. I only want to do 1 feet. What are you going to do? You're going to, is
You have to
Board of
get each
Zoning
case
Appeals?
individually, I guess.
Well, we put a guy
But
with
you-
a barbed wire fence right down the street from there, and then we told somebody else no. Okay, so, I mean.
And we changed the code because of that, because now we have backbone to do that. We didn't before. So that's what I caution you on. We want to be consistent. BZA wants to be consistent.
Yeah, we're judged by what we do, black letter law and also past practice. And we can set a bad precedent, as Bob points out, with whatever practice.
But you still judge each case for what it is.
Yeah, it's just, Bob, you and I had conversation on whether or not BZA had any kind of right to grant a variance from the 2-foot margin, right? And you said that we did. It wasn't clear, the code wasn't clear as far as
Correct.
whether or not that was something appealable to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I do believe it is appealable. Board of Zoning Appeals can grant those variances for fences, setback variances, height and setback, because it's a gray area. I can't point and say, nope, you can't. So with
We
that,
talked about the table too. I think.
correct, right.
Yeah, I want to let everybody know that I had an extensive conversation with Mr. Ralston and his dad in my office. I had an extensive conversation with Bob by phone. So this isn't something that, I don't think anybody's taking it lightly, and nobody should be taking it lightly. And I appreciate all the voices that have spoken tonight.
I had a career in sales and marketing and management. And, I mean, people, they forget things, they overlook things, they do things they shouldn't, that can aggravate you. And, really, come on us is to try to find the best in both situation, the best for everybody. That's what I'm trying to do.
But how do you,
And it's not ideal.
how do you prevent it from happening again? I don't know this man, I have nothing against this man, but from a plan review, I'm tasked with reviewing and compliance. And my predecessor, who did this 14 years ago, I'm understanding, didn't show up to these meetings. He did a review and didn't show up. And obviously, I feel it's important that there is some consistency. And it isn't Tyler that I'm not upset with him. I'm not upset with, it's the review and the code in black and white. Where do we draw the line? And generally, I want to let people live on their property. This group has granted variances that I didn't agree with. But, I agree, people need to live on their property. They have a 50-foot wide lot or whatever it is. But there's also within reason. There was other variances this board granted on corner lots that were only 5 feet. 2 of them were on Mechanic, on both ends of Mechanic at Diamond and Oakwood. One of them, the road actually shifted. So the road actually was a couple feet off center, gave her a larger tree lawn. So it was different, there's so many different cases, I agree. There are a lot of different cases, but.
There's a lot of variations. You kind of have to take each one, have a general rule like Bob said,
Yeah,
and then take
but
each one if there is a situation
you
like
just-
Jerry said.
Yeah, it's hard for me to enforce it. That's what I'm trying to say. Somebody walks in and says, well, hey, I'm just talking out on the street and so got this. And I'm saying, no, you can't do it. I'll just get a variance. And okay, you get a variance. That's what we tell them. Or the same scenario, I don't have to do it. Even though, yeah, you get me.
So he really doesn't need a variance. He needs to comply with the diagonal, which is the word we chose, within 6 months.
Variance would be the foot as opposed to 2 feet on the fence line, away from the
I
sidewalk.
don't know if it's a foot or 14 inches. Did you measure? It looked like, I had him over there. I thought it
Well,
was,
it's not, we know it's not 2 feet.
I would say it was less than 2 feet.
Okay, so we know that much. So if it's less than 2 feet, then Bob has the right to enforce the fact that it's not, it's too close to the sidewalk. Now, if we're assuming that the Board of Zoning Appeals can entertain a variance for that difference on things, then Bob's saying he would oppose that, and that's his right, that's his advice, and I cherish his advice, and I told him that in no uncertain terms when we talked on the phone.
Same here. Highly respectful.
Yeah, and because his predecessor did squat,
Who's his predecessor?
George
Bowen?
Page.
Oh,
was never
Page.
around.
I thought it was Bowen.
No,
I like Bowen. I knew him.
But Page did nothing. Even, I went over in person a couple times to get him to come to a meeting. And he said he was gonna have to talk to the law director about whether or not he could show.
I thought Bowen did a good job.
But.
he didn't do zoning. He wrote the zoning code, but he didn't.
But we just can't say tonight, was there not discussion about the fence being in the footprint of the old fence?
Well, there was a fence there, 'cause I remember when we were kids. I don't know if he knows, 'cause he's pretty
We
little.
talked repeatedly about, is the garage or the shed in the footprint of the old one? And, is that applicable to a fence?
Maybe his dad, but there used to be a fence there, 'cause I asked, Jerry and I asked him.
I don't think there was any question about the fact that there was a fence
It's a
there.
little iron
right?
fence.
Right. But Bob explained when you tear a fence down and put up a new one, you have to go by the new code
Unless you ask the Board of Appeals for a variance.
for a
Yes.
variance.
That's our purpose, right?
Well,
Yeah.
you wouldn't remember
Otherwise-
this fence, 'cause you're
otherwise
a
we
man
don't
away,
sit as a
Bob
body.
would know about it.
You know,
Maybe
if
three
everybody just
people.
conformed to the code, there's no purpose in this body meeting.
We make compromises all the time.
And we already did.
You know, and I will tell you that, you know, if you take a look at the code and if you want to look at it technically, we shouldn't be granting half the variances we grant probably. And I probably shouldn't put that on the record, but I'm going to. Because it's within the discretion of the board. But you have to show that there's a hardship. Now, how many of those times have we
Exactly.
had people come in and there's a hardship that hasn't been self-imposed?
You're right. We're
But that-
supposed to
that-
turn down all comers.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we don't do the right thing to allow improvement. And if
Right.
it isn't detriment to the neighborhood, then we should encourage development, whether it's residential improvement, commercial, industrial. And
Encourage
for
business.
us who are unelected to make those types of decisions is crazy. You know,
Well, we
that's a
don't do
decision for council. And then it's a decision for the mayor and Bob on enforcement and the law director. So,
Instance, this is not a guy doing a cheesy job on a house. If you look at what he's done, he didn't put solar panels up there. I mean, he's making major investment in the property.
so let me throw this out, and then you can throw me out. If you want to keep the fence where it is, as far as the setback from the sidewalk, then you file an application for that. Bob will turn that down. If you want to come to the Board of Appeals, you come to the Board of Appeals on that. Your diagonal variance is still granted, it's still effective, we're not going to change that. Because Bob is absolutely correct. If you had a problem with what you presented, then your case goes across the street to the courthouse. It doesn't come back here. We can't review our own decision. Okay? So, and I don't want to put anybody in a box on this because I respect everybody. But that would be my thought as far as moving forward on this. And if somebody's got a better suggestion, have that, Larry.
Well, just a last thought. Looking at the drawing, it would appear if he was to put the diagonal in, he's going to have to tear out a lot more than 36 feet of fence. So he's going to have the equipment there to do it and the know-how to do it. So while he's putting the diagonal in, he could easily move the rest of the fence.
If he decides to file an application, they come before the board, you'll have your code at that point. And thank you for your honesty.
Okay, so where's
Well, I think where we're left is the diagonal goes in, you can do that at any time you so choose. If you want to do something different with the fence and the setback from the sidewalk, you have to file an application. And you know what's going to happen from there. It's just, they'll come here.
And then we'll vote on it again.
I had a question.
Sure.
That fence was there when the house was built. It was an iron fence there. He put it in the same footprint. Isn't there any kind of grandfather clause that goes?
That fence was see-through. So you could see, as a motorist, you could see the sidewalk, you could see somebody coming down the sidewalk.
Well, you can't see that. I took pictures there.
Well, I think it was an iron fence.
You go up and stop, and you're supposed to stop. And look, you can see right up there. I got it on my phone.
I drove it too, and I don't agree with you. Okay. Well, that's where you're supposed to stop. You're supposed to stop your bumper before the sidewalk, and then you pull forward, and that's where the conflict ends up.
That's where the apron is. That's part of the city property, where that apron. He's talking about he pulls past the sidewalk, goes to the apron, and he can see there. But if you stop where
Yeah,
Bob
but
said, you can't
But
see.
you're beyond the stop sign.
Right. If you even stop at the stop sign, you have
If you
to
stop
pull
at the
across
stop sign, you
the
couldn't.
sidewalk and go onto the apron just slightly. So you could come back here and get a variance to leave the fence where it is, change the diagonal, and then come back here and see how these guys vote.
Well, and just
They may leave it where it is.
to help clarify the issue for you, yeah, but the old fence, it was see-through and it was shorter. This new fence is taller and not see-through, so it creates that issue of visibility. And, you know, my position is, you know, I would be willing to entertain a variance for the setback from the sidewalk, but I think we're all pretty firm in the fact that we would like to see that diagonal there as originally proposed, just to have that increased visibility so we can avoid any accidents happening.
So off the record, you get at least his vote, maybe a couple other ones, and then it solved that problem.
We're not gonna predict the future. What we're gonna do is lay out a roadmap, and that's what I think we've done. I hope that's clear enough to you, Mr. Ralston.
Yes.
And I'm thankful for the expression from the board on things. So let's go from there and go in peace and working together on things. That's my objective, and I think that's the objective of the board and our residents.
And go home and watch Cavaliers.
Yeah, they better win tonight. Okay.
I want to watch
Any
the party.
questions you have, Tyler?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for coming. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, other, any other new business? Any other business of any kind whatsoever? Nothing on the horizon?
You wouldn't have.
All right, well,
So our next meeting, if we have a meeting, would be the 28th of May, and I will not be here. I'm on vacation that week. I know, right? We could possibly meet the week before if we had
The
something.
28th is, Wednesday, 27th is Memorial Day.
Yeah, I'll
Saturday
get you.
and Monday, so
I'll
it's
get
off
you.
that week.
That was funny.
Well,
27th
would-
is a Monday.
I
that's
saw you
Memorial.
come right.
correct, but Tuesday, we would potentially have a meeting.
Well, we shouldn't do it unless you're here. Plus, he may go ahead and apply for that variance. That's what I would.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is you guys can have the meeting, I don't need to be here.
I think you should use
Well,
it.
that's Jerry's pad. You got one.
I already
Obviously,
did.
didn't follow directions.
Custom.
Regardless, so I know, I can tell. But he's still got the diagonal. I don't believe it's in 3
I
foot.
got the
before we
impression
break up and get into discussions
what
on
Clark said is
I'll
if he
entertain a
cuts
motion
it
to
and
adjourn.
comes back,
Well, wait a minute,
he'd
let's
be
decide what day, because if he's not gonna be here.
We're talking
The
about
rest
the next
of it
meeting,
stay closer.
and Bob's not gonna be here on May 28th. So,
What would be the next date in June? Would that'd be Tuesday the 2nd or 3rd? June 4th, is that a Tuesday?
is there a conflict with any other board or council?
So I'll tell you here in a second.
So why
Let
don't
me
we
look
do
at
it
the
on June
calendar.
4th?
Memorial Day's the 27th.
That's a Monday.
I would
Bob
vote
starts
no on it.
vacation on
So,
Tuesday, the
so
28th.
June 3rd would be city council.
Is that Monday or Tuesday?
That's Monday.
he can tear that out and put a diagonal.
Yeah.
date
I'd
and
be
take it
fine
out at the same time.
All right,
Everybody else, June 4th?
Here, give us.
week before.
Is
I
that
mean, I
gonna
think
give it-
that's gonna mess up, like,
is that gonna be enough time to get notices to neighbors?
Well, June 4th, otherwise you're going on the 28th.
So you'd be May 21st. So the
I don't think-
13th and the 20th, committee meetings, and then the 20th is finance, which is a Monday. Those are both Mondays.
I gotta check my bocce schedule.
if I got anything that week, I would have to.
Yeah,
We
so,
just won't accept anything after,
yeah.
So you want to, Tiffany, you want to do it on the 21st of May?
week before.
So Tiffany has to,
I feel bad.
we have to have applications 14 days in advance, and they have to be advertised publicly.
Site plans.
So that just backs that date back a little bit.
But if they're not in by that time,
Go to June. We'll just, okay, so May 21st.
which will
is that
conflict with
okay
the
for
4th of
everybody?
July. Yeah,
Okay, so May 21st is the meeting, right?
tentatively. 7 o'clock.
And that's a Tuesday, right, Tiffany?
Yes. I'll send out a reminder.
Marion doesn't tell me.
No, Jerry made the motion to adjourn, didn't you? Okay, second for that?
I second it.
Okay, got it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You know the Cavaliers are blocked out on the TV, you can't even watch them.
Yeah, it's on Valley Sports.
On which one?
Valley Sports.
I don't get Billy's.
Oh, that's your problem.
I get NBA TV though, I have a
I'm
satellite.
gonna watch the Guardians anyway. They're on.
They're doing good except for
After what
last
they pulled the other
series.
day.
Oh, they got greedy stealing them bases.
Well,
They got stopped. They stole 7 steals and got nailed on 4 of them.
What was he doing in the extra innings trying to go without even throwing the ball?
Hey, I watched it.
The lady up at the corner that she wanted
come back and go, hey, is that the one behind Carlin's school? Across from the
Anybody's
Berry's
allowed
house.
to do that, Cliff?
Yeah, but she's moving or something. Isn't she moving or
Oh,
something?
okay, excuse me. Go to hell.
I think she moved.
But I do understand. I deal with it on a regular basis.
I understand the point of,
Well, you want to assign that I wasn't here?
No, you were here.
Oh,
You missed the March meeting, so that was the last time.
oh, all right,
and then you didn't,
Then I just put you absent on the other.
Right.
I saw that.
I can go away.
No, I heard you. I know you, yes.
Yeah, and I'm dealing with a landlord that is converting
We didn't ask you what
single-family
you
to
thought.
multi-units. He's not getting permits. And I'm dealing with that. And we're pulling our stuff together and Semino's gonna file. And, this guy's got 30
You did a
houses.
great job
He thinks
for us.
he can do whatever he wants and there's no law in Ravenna. His premise
Well,
is I'm
it's
helping
perfectly
people
clear from the
create
minutes that
I don't even
he
charge
was
them.
told
You know, it's unfinished.
and agreed to everything.
It's frustrating as an enforcer, a code enforcer.
You're gonna run off with that?
And then she said, well, it's done.
Do you recycle all those?
I did it complete.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to, excuse me for that, but lately here, when I talk to people.
Oh, yeah.
They're just last month with
We're in Ward,
Oh, you get it?
our secretary,
Okay.
the council,
I think,
in Chelsea.
I get
And from across the way,
yeah.
Alfie says, it's right here, Cliff, if you read this, and I go, I don't have that.
but, yeah, it's.
And I wasn't talking to you anyway. Okay, I'm talking to Chelsea because Chelsea was in charge of that situation with scheduling and everything else.
Oh,
I know
okay.
he has the deal, but you'll have to excuse me on that. I mean, maybe I should have called you up so nobody else could interrupt me on it. But my thought is lawyers like that. They think they got all the rights in the world. And also, ex-superintendents that forgot to take their hat off when they retired from superintendent.
Oh.
They still want to be the boss, okay? That's just my opinion, but I back it.
Well, thank you.
I worry about where this could go. To tell you the truth, I think this board is way too easy on a lot of shit.
I do too. I do too. And let me tell you, what we see in our office with high grass and the attitudes of these people of, I can't believe, get a life. I can't believe you're telling me I have to cut my grass. Get a life. I can't believe, I need to park on a tree.